that interest out in front of you that's drawing you forward is actually your future calling you forward. Now that's a lot of woo right there. That's a lot of woo.
He talks about that a lot. I mean, that's one of his repeated themes.
I think that he gets that from Binswanger and Boss, because I think it comes from this idea of the phenesthai, or the phenomenon that's shining out in front of you. Mm-hmm. It can be the smallest moment in front of you, the thing that's shining in front of you. If your attention is focused in the right place, then that thing that's shining in front of you is that quality that's moving you forward in your life. It's moving you towards quality instead of away from quality. Mm-hmm. And okay, I'm going to give you just a broad perspective here. In the Sanskrit, the etymology of God is exchange. Gut, G-H-U-T, either means to come back or return, or to barter or exchange. So the very interesting way to look at God. Many, many thoughts come to mind, but one of the thoughts that come to mind is the exchange that takes place in the relationship. Because God gives himself for us, and then when he gives himself for us, and then we become a part of him, then our desire is to give ourselves for others. And so it goes out in this fractal nature. It reminded me of this verse from 2 Chronicles. For the eyes of the Lord roam to and fro upon the earth, to show himself strong on behalf of those whose hearts are fully his. One of the principles that's in Peterson's book, that's also in the Bible, is you become like what you focus on. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you focus on the greatest good of which you can conceive, which is Peterson's idea, and then you move forward with that in mind, it brings into your field of salience the things that are important to achieve that goal, so that you can keep moving towards it. In Pirsig's picture here, there are all these different levels, and so your attention can go many different places. Mm-hmm. But so it made me think about how if we keep our focus on higher things, and then the picture that came to my mind is the picture of a mother and baby, because the mother is gazing with love at the baby. The mother's not becoming like the baby, but the baby is learning the mother's gaze and looking back at the mother with that same look of love, and the baby is becoming more like the mother. So the mother gazing at the baby brings the baby into gazing at the mother, and the baby becomes more like the mother. And that's this idea of keeping your gaze upward and not downward. I mean, if you are going to gaze downward, it's for the purpose of drawing upward. And if you're going to gaze upward, it's the purpose of being pulled upward, right? Oh, yeah. So when we think about God being exchange, he's looking down at us with this gaze of love in order to bring us up, and then our gaze looks up towards him. So there's this exchange idea going on. And the exchange is his life for mine, his breath for mine. He's holding the whole universe together. It's that. So for me, the dynamic quality picture, I really like a lot of the things that Pirsig is saying, but for me, the dynamic quality that's calling us forward is this gaze of God towards us, which is always a gaze of love. And it's that love that's always drawing us forward.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful and brilliant. That's perfect. Good and God and good. They're all etymologically the same. And so good, of course, is quality.
Mm-hmm. Which brings me back to the Austrian economics thing, because the goods are what we exchange with one another. So that's the whole exchange idea, right? Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that the Austrian economists saw, I think probably this goes back even to Adam Smith and maybe before him, is that for an exchange to actually work, or to end up not becoming a static, dead thing, there has to be, what I offer has to be of high enough quality so that you want it, and what you're going to give me in exchange for it is of high enough quality that I want it. So you have to be giving to each other so that the exchange actually creates another good almost in the middle of the exchange.
But it becomes, again, to take the more prosaic
Yes.
economics view of it, is if we're exchanging freely, that you value what I have more than I value what you have. If it's money in a good, I'd rather have the good than the money, and I give it to you. You having the good, you'd rather have the money than the good. And that may be because you're a farmer and you've got 150 pumpkins, and I'm a consumer and I don't have any. So I'm ready to give you money because you have plenty of pumpkins, and we make the exchange. And if it can stay on that very narrow level, then you know it has to be good. It's good for everybody. It's good. Both people, which again is very different than, say, a Marxist view, where it's always an exploitation. In this sense, it's always a benefit for everybody if it's a free market. That's where the free market good comes from. Goods are exchanged, and it's good for both parties. Otherwise, they wouldn't make the exchange. And then it builds from there.